Oh, what a day! What a lovely day!
Welcome to the Mad Max Minute Podcast, the daily podcast where we break down Mad Max 1 minute at a time. I'm Rick.
And I'm Julia.
And today we're talking about minute 71, which begins with Jessie finding the acolytes, and it ends with Jessie trying to get Sprog back. Good Monday morning, Julia. We are out of the woods. Finally.
Yeah, in a manner of speaking.
Yeah, I mean,
what's the expression? Out of the flame? No.
Out of the frying pan into the fire?
The fire. Yes, that's it.
That's a good way to put it.
But we are technically out of the woods.
Yeah, I mean, I
Max
will review.
isn't.
Max is still in the woods for some misguided and awful reason.
Uh-huh.
But Jessie is in the farmyard, and she has wandered over to like this barn shed area, and she hears Toecutter's voice saying, well, well, well. And it kind of reminds me of when Max and Goose arrested Johnny.
Oh, yeah. That was the first thing I thought of.
Yeah. Because,
Toecutter sounds just as stupid as Goose.
Yeah, you don't like that phrase.
I don't.
I mean, I like it in select instances. I've already mentioned that. How I appreciate it when it's used in a pun context. But I feel like this was definitely a callback for the benefit of the audience, considering that the only person that was there for that first incident is Johnny. And I don't think Johnny would be...
baked out of his skull.
Exactly. I don't think he would be the kind of person to have been conscious enough to really remember that, to say, hey, Toecutter, this is what you should do.
Right. So, yeah, you're right. That was purely for the audience.
Mm-hmm. But we get a good look at Toecutter, and he's kind of walking forward with all of his acolytes behind him. And he's got his helmet perched up on top of his head.
With a tuft of hair.
Yeah.
Sticking through the face part. Yeah, I'm good with words.
The face opening, yeah.
Yeah.
And it looks kind of regal. You know, it's kind of perched on top of his head like a crown would be.
Yeah, that's an interesting observation because it also makes me think about the fur over his shoulders, which we've never talked about, and I do not know why. So I do think that he is fashioning himself as royal, as the leader, the unquestionable. You don't question monarchy.
Right.
They just are.
And he definitely speaks more eloquently than the rest of the gang. I think that's a good way to put it.
Yes.
His manner of speech is just streets ahead of some of the other gang members.
Yes. We have referenced that in the past with the experience of Hugh Keays-Byrne being a Shakespearean actor, but I don't think we give Toecutter enough credit for how he speaks and the way that he elevates himself above the rest in his speech patterns.
I think the only other gang member that kind of comes close to speaking the way that Toecutter does is probably Cundalini.
Oh, that's not what I thought you were going to say.
Oh, what'd you think?
I thought you were going to say Bubba. Bubba has...
He does like to use big words.
He does. He also has a presence. And remember when he called Johnny chicken and it took us aback. We're like, that's not Bubba. He's stooping to Johnny's level by using language like that.
I think
normally he keeps himself above.
I think the reason I didn't immediately go to Bubba Zanetti is because he's so quiet. Like when he speaks, it's a rare thing.
Yes, it is rare.
And he's very reserved with the words that he chooses.
He's been lurking in the background and in the side for a while now. We haven't heard him speak in quite some time. We do get that nice little speech from Cundalini about his surgeon's hands. But everybody else is very, I don't know, clunky and crass and a little bit more what you would expect.
Yeah, a bit more down-home good time.
Yes.
Than star of the stage and screen. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, keeping up with that train of thought, from well, Toecutter says, it's our little mother, referencing Jessie, who is kind of backing away now that she's realized what she's looking at. And as the gang members are shifting around, it's revealed that Diabando is sitting there with Sprog in his lap. So we know exactly where Sprog is.
I do appreciate that they didn't drag out that reveal for us or for Jessie. It was pretty quick. When we first came upon the scene, Starbuck and Johnny were blocking the view of Sprog, but as soon as this dialogue starts up, they move to the side.
And I gotta say, for being rough and tumble and just scary biker dudes, Diabando is being rather gentle with Sprog. Yes. I mean, he's kind of cradling him, and they've kind of wrapped him up in a burlap bag and whatnot, like you would a baby. And he's, sitting there holding him, and I think he's got like a piece of fruit or something in his hand. I mean, he's also got a hatchet.
Right.
But the important thing is...
I think he used the hatchet to cut like an apple or something in half. Because there do seem to be like two halves of something around. Which makes me wonder, so Diabando has like the humanity to treat a baby at least relatively safely. That begs the question again, back to the ice cream shop, what were they planning on doing to the baby? It makes me wonder if they weren't really planning on doing anything to the baby.
I think that...
Like, they probably would have just shoved the baby in the car where it was enclosed and done whatever they were going to do to Jessie.
Yeah.
You know what? That's the story I'm going to go with. Because it's really disturbing to think about what they might have done to Sprog. So,
well, I mean, one of the things that I thought, seeing Sprog sitting there in a burlap bag, is that they probably put him in there in case they needed to beat a fast retreat. They'd probably just pull the bag up over the kid's head and just Krampus him away.
Oh, yeah. That does make sense. That would explain why he's in a burlap sack.
I mean, because... let's face it, Sprog was sitting on a pretty nice blanket, and so if you wanted to wrap up the baby in a blanket, you just take the one that was on the ground.
Right. They could have just scooped up the entire blanket.
Tied him up in a bindle and put a stick over their shoulder. Yeah.
Exactly.
Oh, just the idea of Sprog wrapped up in a bindle. Bindles are funny anyway.
It's a funny word.
So we get to see Jessie, we get to see her reaction to seeing her baby, so she knows where he is. And then... we pull out and we get a wide shot.
This is my favorite moment of the minute. Well, second favorite. It feels like a bikie's version of The Last Supper.
Okay.
It feels like people are lined up and presented to us in this picturesque way. And then there's Mudguts.
Oh, yeah.
Who's just being weird, like plastered himself to the side of the building.
Yep.
And you gotta look hard to find out how the heck he's doing that. Like, he's ever so slightly perched on the windowsill.
Yep.
And I think he's probably, like, holding on with his toes to the brick, too.
Yeah.
But barely.
I gotta say, the shape that he is making with his body, it kind of looks like, in old cartoons when Superman is in flight.
Yes.
He's got one arm extended with the other one behind him, and his legs are kind of kicked at an angle, a couple angles.
It's like a still position that makes you look like you're moving fast.
Yeah, it's almost like he's pretending to run. And he's just perched up there on the side of the wall. And I feel like this image that we're looking at of all of the gang members with Toecutter in the middle pointing over at Cundalini, it's so indicative of their individual characters. Because you've got Bubba Zanetti, who's just standing there,
looking
stock
ominous
still.
And, yeah.
Like, I feel like that's his favorite pose. Standing, arms at his side, just staring at things.
Yeah. His head tilted slightly forward so that he's glaring out at the top of his eyes.
Mm-hmm. And then you got Clunk, who's like, it kind of looks like he's found a long stick or a broom handle, and he's just kind of playing in the dirt.
Which he does. This is at least the third time we've seen him find something and play with it.
Yeah, I feel like...
that I can think of off the top of my head.
I think Clunk would benefit greatly from like a fidget cube.
Yes.
Something to keep his hands busy.
Yes. One shaped like boobies or something.
So right next to Clunk is Starbuck, who is like biting his fingernail, and then like I tried to write down something clever in my notes about like him giving himself a manicure or something like that. And he just seems bored with the whole situation, like he's not actually paying attention.
Right. Which would make sense because he's never like at the forefront of any goings on. Like he participates, but he doesn't really seem to be too into it.
Yeah, he does seem to be the type that is always looking for the next distraction, because as they were all on the beach, he was the one that initially noticed Jessie. Because he's probably just always looking for that next like I said, distraction.
Yes.
And speaking of distractions, you've got Mudguts sitting up on top of that windowsill. And it's one of those things where you look at it and you might not notice it initially because Toecutter is such a commanding presence in the scene.
Yes.
But when you stop it and you look at it, you wonder, wait, how did he even get up there?
Right.
Like, there's a little pallet leaning against the wall, and then if he kind of kicks up the pallet, he could probably get to the top of the door and then kind of push on top of the door to get to the windowsill. But it's like some sort of Spider-Man thing, or I don't even know.
I would be very interested in the behind the scenes of how that happened.
Oh, absolutely.
Was it the actor's idea? Was it George Miller's idea? Was it written into the script that way? I would be very interested in how that detail came about.
I have a feeling that it's probably a decision from the actor, because when we talked about David Brox back in minute 21, like 50 minutes ago, we talked about how he was part of the stunt team. He was that kind of person that would do something that physically challenging.
Okay, that does make sense.
Just to put himself in that position.
Right.
Makes a lot of sense when
I
you
could just
consider
stand here, or I could climb up and sit up there.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that does make sense.
I mean, Diabando is sitting a bit more conventionally, like we said, because he is holding Sprog. And yeah, he's just being so very gentle. Mm-hmm. Like, surprisingly so. I feel like Diabando is the one that would most specifically defy the typical, stereotypical biker in his actions or mannerisms. Like, I feel like he's more of a wild card.
Honestly, I can't really remember any other moments with him. I mean, except for the Chevy scene, which everybody was involved in.
Mm-hmm. And there was the milkshake back in Wee Jerusalem.
Which one was he in the milkshake scene? It's a really long time ago.
Diabando was the one that chased Grinner into the building and ended up throwing him out and then dragging him from the back of the motorcycle.
Okay.
So then, of course, next to Diabando is Johnny, who is standing there with his hands in his waistband like a bum. I called him Slimy in my notes because he's dumb and stupid and I hate his face. And of course, we see Jessie from behind, and then over in the shadows is Cundalini. And what I like about this scene, as I mentioned before, is Toecutter in the center of it, and he's pointing over there into the shadows, and he says, that there is Cundalini. And as he says Cundalini, we kind of cut over to a close-up of that poor guy.
Yeah.
So, in my notes, I say, oh, that is the face of regret. You know, regret that he tried to attack a van with a length of chain. Regret that he joined a motorcycle gang. Regret that he never pursued a career as a surgeon. You know? But then I thought again, and I'm like, no, he's probably stoned out of his mind.
You know, if the group had any kindness or compassion at all, he would be. Mm-hmm. Because it's the only thing they can do for him. He's going to die of infection.
Oh, absolutely.
Absolutely. They might as well make him comfortable.
Like,
because they've wrapped him up, and it's not very clear how he got there. If he rode his bike, which I can't imagine, because don't you have to have both hands?
It definitely helps. It would be extremely difficult without a right hand.
Right.
To give the bike any sort of throttle. So he probably rode on the back of someone else's motorcycle.
Right.
But yeah,
which I'll have more questions about that in the next coming minutes.
Yeah, he is out of it.
Yes.
I'm pretty sure...
Why did they bother bringing him along? They should have deposited him at some crony's house.
Well, they needed him as an object for this little presentation here.
Because if he wasn't there, then we wouldn't get the best line of the entire movie.
Yep. Yeah, we cut back from this shot of Cundalini to another shot of Toecutter, just with his arm outstretched, and he says, and Cundalini wants his hand back.
Okay, this is my favorite moment.
When I was growing up, I heard a phrase a lot, and that phrase was, how does it feel to want? And that is the first thing I thought of when I heard Toecutter say that.
Oh, my equivalent sounds like a personal problem. Yep.
Knowing your mother.
Yeah, right?
That is 100% on brand, I think.
I'm trying to remember who said it more, my mom or my dad. I think it was definitely both of them that said it. Sounds like a personal problem.
They just fed off each other, didn't they?
Yes.
Yep.
And if you ever asked them what they were chewing, they would say their tongue.
It's so weird.
Yep.
Oh, boy. So, Toecutter is laying out very specifically, Cundalini wants his hand back. And, okay, I feel like Cundalini could probably speak for himself if he wasn't drugged out, so it's kind of nice that Toecutter's advocating for him.
Yeah.
But Jessie fires back with what she wants. She wants her baby back.
Don't do it. Don't do it. Move on.
She wants a baby back. Oh my gosh.
I think it's about at this point that Toecutter removes his helmet from its perch on top of his head, and we get full view of his glorious
oh my gosh
helmet hair.
He looks like a Who from Whoville.
He does. Like, it's half up in a ponytail, like, on top of his head, and then the rest of it is, like, matted down. And, okay, as somebody with long hair who wears a motorcycle helmet, I call BS on him having his hair even half pulled up like that, because the place where the elastic has gathered the hair is going to get pushed into his skull by the helmet.
You know what I bet happened?
And it will drive him to insanity.
I'm willing to bet that when they were waiting for Jessie to arrive, he probably took his helmet off and then gathered his hair. And then perched his helmet back up on top. Right, because the one thing about that top knot is that it's going to keep the helmet in place.
That is true. It was definitely functioning that way.
Poking up through the opening.
And I can also tell you that the first thing you do when you take your helmet off is do your hair.
Mm-hmm.
Even if it's just throw it up in an elastic because it's all crazy and gross now. Yeah. The first thing you do is take care of it.
I just want to say, going back to the fact that he looks like a Who from Whoville, can you imagine, take the story of How the Grinch Stole Christmas, which you're not a fan of, if I remember right.
I'm okay with the story. It's the song.
Ah, gotcha.
It's a horrible song.
But take that story, take the Grinch out of it, and drop in Toecutter.
I think that would be pretty great.
I know, right?
Because he has a way with words, and he has a sense of humor, but it's very dark. And the problem would be is that I don't think Toecutter's heart would ever grow 3 sizes. Mm. He has a shriveled little heart, and he pretends that he has a big heart. Like, he pretends to be on your side and have compassion for you, and then he turns around and shoves a shotgun in your mouth.
Yeah.
You know?
I don't think Toecutter would necessarily steal Christmas. I feel like he would burn that mother down.
Oh, yeah, he wouldn't steal it. He would destroy it.
He would, like, sneak into people's houses and take a baseball bat to each and every Christmas tree.
Absolutely.
And
he would have a grand old time doing it.
Terrorize everybody.
And Bubba would be there right there with him.
Yep, not really doing much, but Bubba would be there.
Yeah.
Bubba is a great shadow for Toecutter. Like, if you want, like, a henchman, like a number 2, like, Bubba Zanetti is your man. Absolutely.
Yes. Yeah, he's pretty good.
Mm-hmm.
I'm actually looking forward to, I think it's tomorrow, where we get a line from Bubba.
Oh, yeah, when May shows up.
Yes. It's just one line, but it's great. Okay. Where were we?
So,
there's the helmet.
So Toecutter says, you know what? We'll swap you. And that would be great, except that Ziggy has Kundalini's hand.
Yes, which Jessie never tells him.
Like, how easy would it have been to say, oh, well, you want the hand back.
Well, I don't have it.
You know, it's with Ziggy. It's in Lost and Found. Go pick it up.
Yeah. Like, all you have to do is go claim it. It's waiting to be claimed.
You imagine? So they're having this face-off, and Toecutter's like, tell you what, I'll swap you. And Jessie's be like, oh, well, okay, yeah, it's over in this precinct building. And then suddenly Toecutter's like, all right, well, we know where it is. Everybody, let's go.
Yeah.
Let's hop on the bikes and leave. Let's
leave
the baby.
And he walks in there and goes, Cundalini wants his hand back.
Can you imagine? Like, that would never happen. Like, they would never go that way.
No.
But how absurd would it be if that's actually how this scene resolved? If Toecutter says, oh, well, that's very helpful. All right, we'll leave then.
Right.
Sorry about the dog.
Right. I want to point out that we've had this discussion many, many, many times about Toecutter and his power plays. Mm-hmm. And how it's very effective. And the different way that it affects different people along the way. So now he's doing it to Jessie. Again, I mean, he already tried it on her once. Didn't work. He's trying it on her again. Still not working. She's not playing his game. He's provoking her, and her only response is, give me my baby.
And she's so polite about it.
She is.
She says please.
Yes.
Like, how many parents, when their child is being held by, violent gang members, would think to say please? I feel like...
Gotta give her credit for that.
The use of please alone should have convinced the bikers to give up the baby. Be like, oh, you asked very nicely. We appreciate it. Here you go.
Here you go. Oh, if only.
If only. So, in response to Jessie asking, please give me my baby, Toecutter says, Jessie, you've not got a sense of humor. And he says it just like that.
He does.
With a Scottish accent.
I listened to it a couple of times, and I realized to my American ear, there could be some generalizations about accents. But no, I'm pretty sure that's a Scottish accent. Mm-hmm. I mean, he is putting it on, and he is making fun of her.
Oh, yeah.
He's certainly making fun of her.
Yeah, but it is full-on Scotty from Star Trek. I can't give it any more, Captain. Type Scottish accent.
Yeah. I think so.
And it is so, it comes out of nowhere.
It does. I think he's playing like he's being goofy, but he's not. He's being dark. But starting here where he says, Jessie, he goes into about how, have you not got a sense of humor and blah, 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 in reference to giving Cundalini his hand back. Because of course she can't give it back. Like, she can hand him the bag, but that's not going to save Cundalini's life. Yeah. It doesn't actually matter where the hand is. It's not attached to Cundalini, therefore it doesn't matter where it is. So the joke is that nobody can give Cundalini his hand back. And Toecutter is pretending like it was a good joke and poking fun at Jessie for not thinking it was funny.
Yeah. I'm a little concerned that he knows Jessie's name.
I am hugely concerned that he knows Jessie's name. I have been trying to think about people that both of them have interacted with. Mm-hmm. The only one that's come to my mind is the Grease Rat. Now, they didn't have much interaction, Jessie and the Grease Rat, but he might have heard Max call her Jessie.
Very true.
And he might have heard Jessie call him Max. So, kind of almost by default, he might have known their names.
Yeah.
That's the only thing I can think of, and it feels pretty thin.
The idea that comes to my mind is that when they tracked down the van, they probably poked around inside a bit, and the van might be registered to her.
It might be.
You know what I mean?
Or her license or something is inside. Some sort of identification.
Yeah, because I'm trying to remember, without going back into my notes, what was said in the presence of the Grease Rat. And I think if off-camera Max had mentioned Jessie's name, then the Grease Rat off-camera could have told Toecutter.
Yes. But in movies, we're not supposed to assume anything about what happens off-camera.
Right.
Basically, if it's not on camera, it doesn't exist. Unless we are told that it exists. Yeah. And we weren't told anything about that. The Grease Rat knowing her name or communicating her name. I actually like the rifling through her car. They could have also gone inside and rifled through her things.
Right.
Because everybody was outside. All day. The last person inside was Jessie when she changed into her suit to go down to the beach. And we saw, I think we only verified 4 people in the woods.
I felt like there were a lot, but yeah, the shots were very quick and we only ever positively identified 4 specifically.
4. So others could have been at the house
gathering information.
And
we always forget that there are so many more bikers in the gang. Because, yeah, it's just the lieutenants here at the shed. But at the same time, there could have been many more in the woods. They could have been using them
as lookouts, gathering information. Toecutter could have sent 2 inside saying, find out who these people are. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah, there's definitely a lot that it seems is happening behind the scenes. But back here at the shed, like you said earlier, Toecutter launches into this thing where he says, you've not got a sense of humor. You've got a pretty face, though. Awful pretty. And then he says, I suppose you don't need a sense of humor with a pretty face. The only trouble, though, Missy, if you should lose the face. And first of all, He sounds like a creep. Then he sounds like an a-hole. And he insinuates that if she didn't have a pretty face or a sense of humor, she would have nothing. And I think he just needs better material. Like, if he's trying to get her to laugh, his jokes are really bad. But his insinuation that without a pretty face or a sense of humor, that she would have nothing, I feel like that really shortchanges women that are humorless and don't have faces, because there's no reason they would have nothing to contribute or for other people to appreciate. You know?
Agreed. Other anti-feminist moments in this movie have gotten me riled up. Mm-hmm. This one doesn't, unfortunately. I mean, it should, that he, discounts all the other virtues that people can have besides a sense of humor and a pretty face. I don't know, he just says it so well. He just has such presence that I'm like, okay.
Hey, like we've said many times, Toecutter has a cult of personality that surrounds him. That is very captivating.
Yes.
But after he says, you've got nothing, Jessie says, what do you want from me? And I'm like, were you not listening?
Yeah.
He wants Cundalini's hand.
I understand her crying out in frustration.
Yeah.
What do you want from me?
Because that's exactly what it is. It's a frustration thing.
Yes. She has been strong so far in not playing his game, and she kind of breaks a little here, which is disappointing.
Yeah.
I think she should have told them that she didn't have the hand.
Mm-hmm.
It wouldn't have made a difference. I mean, it wouldn't have changed anything, but I feel like that information should be out there.
Yeah. And
that she turned the hand into the cops.
And I kind of like that, asking what they want, when they've already said what they want is one thing. But she's also asking what they want because she looks through the absurdity of them just wanting the hand back. There's got to be another reason why they're there.
Right.
And so she's saying, hey, cut the crap. What the heck do you guys want?
That's a very good point. Do you think if Cundalini hadn't lost his hand in that way, they still would have gone after them?
Oh, I think they would have found another reason to chase them down because she, kneed him in the crotch
she
and
assaulted him.
Put a bunch of ice cream in his face. That is an insult that he cannot let stand.
Very true.
And so the fact that Cundalini lost a hand is just,
more motivation.
Icing on the cake.
Right.
Sprinkles on the ice cream, so to speak.
So saying that that's why they're there, that Cundalini wants his hand back, it's obviously not what they want. What they want is retribution for what she did to Toecutter, not what she did to Cundalini.
Right.
Which was his own fault.
Man,
It was just a dumb... I feel bad for him because we've all done things like that.
Yeah. Just dumb missteps.
Moments, and it's so quick, and you make a decision, and bam, everything has changed forever. Mm-hmm. Little things, big things, we've all done it. So I feel bad for him, because he didn't think it through, and he made a split decision that cost him his life.
Yeah, because we definitely agree. We definitely agree that he's gonna...
Right, we don't really see what happens to him, do we?
No, because later on in the film... a lot of the bikers that we see get taken out are actively riding their motorcycles.
Right.
We never see Cundalini riding a motorcycle ever again.
He can't.
So he probably just dies of infection.
Yeah. Which is a slow, miserable, painful death.
Yeah. But it could be worse. He could be chained to a truck that explodes.
Hopefully Max didn't kill all of the compassionate people in the gang, and somebody is still alive to feed him drugs as he dies.
I say, there are plenty of unnamed bikers in that gang that we've seen, but not necessarily gotten to know.
Yes.
For sure.
Yes.
So, this minute ends with Toecutter looking at Jessie, and we don't actually hear him speak until next minute. So we'll pick that up tomorrow. In the meantime, our website is madmaxminute.com. You can follow us on Twitter at madmaxminute, like us on Facebook, and join our listeners page, Mad Max Minute Beyond Microphone.
Thank you for joining us for Mad Max Minute number 71. We'll see you tomorrow.
Motorbikes and leather men, take me to the edge of the dream. Hold on tight, so it's